Whiteville, North Carolina. And just want to welcome each and every one of you here. Thank you for your patience as we worked out our technology needs and issues.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Springfield. My name is Jennifer Springfield. Okay, my name is Jennifer Springfield. As you can tell, I went through soccer. I am a grandmother. I am a mother. I'm very active in my church and in my community.
Thank you, Jennifer. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Jacobs Raphael, and I'm so glad to be in this space with you this morning. Like Jennifer said, I do a lot of public speaking, so this is a different atmosphere for me. So I hope that you get out of this session things that you can take back to your county and you can implement, and that you can try and see if it's successful or not within the counties that you live and you serve. A little bit about myself. I am president of Parent Advisory Committee, and I also serve on the board for Columbus County Partnership for Children. And I thrive and work with families and children every day. I love people, and I love to learn from one another, especially differences, languages, cultures, diversity. I'm always asking, who's at the table? Because it's so important when I look at the table that I'm serving, that I see people like me, Native American, Waccamaw Siouan, proud. And I see other diversities represented at the table as well. So I'm so glad that you're in this space with us this morning, and I hope that you enjoy our session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sherry Baldwin. I am the Parent Advisory Committee Coordinator. I am an advocate, I am a mother, and I'm a sibling, and I'm a auntie of 2 twins. And I just love engagement in terms of advocating for people and meeting people and where they are. And I hope you all get something great out of this session.
We start with our presentation, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or just we'll come over and bring the mic. And I'm a person too, I like to walk around. So our first slide here, Stronger Together. How we got started, and like I said, we don't have a script. I'm a parent leader and stakeholder, Miss Jennifer, and so we wanted to bring the work that we've been doing in Columbus County to you. So how did we get started? We had started with FELC, and Jennifer, you can jump in anytime that you would like. We started off with Miss Jennifer, Miss Alyssa Lewis, myself, and Dashina here. And we started growing and realizing the impact that we were making in Columbus County.
Yeah, and that was in 2021 when we started. And we began with a mission, we got our mission and an action plan that we followed. We made an action plan, and one of the things that we were really working on was doing a survey for our families and our daycares, based on what needs we might have in our community, what things they need, if people have access to the information for any resources or anything.
And so this slide here, it says, where are they now? So Miss Alyssa, she actually started with FELC and then started working for the partnership in Columbus County. Myself, I started, I was asked to serve on the board for Columbus County Board of Education. And then Miss Jennifer, she actually became our first Columbus County
Riddle Ambassador.
Riddle Ambassador, yes. So we didn't have a representative from Columbus County. And then Miss Jenny, I met Miss Jenny at Southeastern Community College. Just give a wave to everyone, Miss Jenny. And she had just moved to Columbus County. She is bilingual. She's in education, so she has 2 children, in one in school, one in the college. So I met her in a college setting, and she was a godsend. Because
finished some training, in Raleigh, starting strong. And there was a session there, if you could do, speak Spanish, and so they had another, extra day for the training in all in Spanish. And I was wondering, I wish I could speak Spanish, because this would be great to bring back to Columbus County and be able to provide the training in Spanish. And so it was nice meeting Miss Jenny, and we just kept talking and connecting. And I was like, you have to get involved with Columbus County Partnership for Children. And so I invited her to one of our meetings. We meet, twice a month, second and fourth Tuesday, for 1 hour. And so she started coming, and then eventually, as a stakeholder, she then, started working for the partnership as well. So we've all advanced, just starting out with FELC. It has opened doors for us that I cannot tell you or begin to tell you the different pathways that we all have found, different foundations of where we like to advocate for. Jennifer, you want to speak on yours?
Where I am now, when I first started with FELC was after we had had several painful things that we were going through. I had a daughter that was addicted, I had to fight for my grandchildren, we had a hurricane that I lost my house in, all at the same time. So when I came to the FELC and I came to Start, I did not have a voice. I could, people could say, you talk all the time, which I can talk all the time, but not how to advocate for my family. So my why and what I am working towards now is supporting grandparents that are raising their young grandchildren, so that they know how to even work cell phones. I mean, there's so much, and the survey that we did actually pointed out how many grandparents were raising their grandchildren. I also want to work towards having some kind of grandparents' rights in the state of North Carolina, so those are what I'm doing now.
That survey, or the needs assessment, I don't think we're on that page yet, but, so just to go along with our slides, nothing about us without us. And we truly stick to this. We want to be at the table, and we want our voices heard as parents and as stakeholders. We want to advocate for our families and for children, and also teach parents and children how to advocate as well. So that's very important. If you don't have a seat at the table, then you don't have no say. And we don't want decisions made about that affect our families and our children without our input. So just to move along, FELC moved into Parent Advisory Committee, and that started back in the fall of 2023. So Jennifer and I, we have been in this work together for a long time.
Definitely.
We started off with a mission statement and a vision statement here.
The PAC promotes the idea that when parents and caregivers are supportive and involved with the education of young children, the children will thrive academically, socially, and emotionally.
Our vision statement.
The PAC ensures inclusive, integrated, and easy access to information and resources, ensuring that parents and caregivers need to support the healthy growth, development, and academic success of young children.
So both with FELC and PAC, we needed to have a vision, we needed to have a mission, and then we also need to have an action plan. Because when we gather, we need to know what is our purpose, what is our work, where are we going, and what are we doing with the trainings that we're receiving. Okay, so our needs assessment, we did a needs assessment in Columbus County, and boy, did our need assessments tell us a lot. What was going on in our county, which we called home. Right, Jennifer?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think we understood exactly how diverse the needs in our community were, and even where they were. There were like some places, we each took different zip codes and went and handed out all these surveys across Columbus County. We went everywhere, we was responsible for it. We put a lot of hard work into trying to find out what was really going on in our community. So when we put them out and we developed a QR code, we went through a lot putting out that survey.
Yes, we found out there was a lot of families, there was a lot of homes that didn't have access to the internet.
Right.
So we needed to drop off, I took some to my tribal office, in Columbus County, and my tribe sits in Columbus County and Bladen
kids are going back to school and they're thinking about it and it's weighing the kids down so much. We've been trying to find ways to where we can help families get the resources and the food that they need, in a really accessible way.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, moving to the next slide. And one thing I'll add to the needs assessment, as PAC now, because we rolled this out with, FELC before we started PAC, we are looking into going back and doing another needs assessment for Columbus County. So, again, we started and formed in the fall of 2023, Parent Advisory Committee. So here's our logo. We're going to stop and talk a little bit about our logo. So branding, your image, it speaks who you are. We wanted to make sure with our logo that we were including our children, and you'll see at the top, it says CFC. When we were with, FELC, we had Children First Columbus. Yes, Children First Columbus. So then when we formed and transitioned into PAC, we wanted our logo to be meaningful, and we wanted to be able to address and incorporate our children's input.
which Jenny's son actually helped come up with a lot of our logo and the drawings on it, and he really seemed to capture what we were doing in the meetings and everything. He was great. He's great.
Yes, he sketched out, and that's what you see in the image here. We also incorporated Columbus County Partnership for Children using their colors as well. So we wanted to, also, because we fall under the partnership, so we wanted to incorporate and use the colors as well. And then the children, we wanted their input too. So at our meetings, our children are there. They have their table just like the adults have their table. So what, we wanted to take the logo around to the children and let them see the images and get more of their input. What would you like to see on these letters? And they wanted to see them, they wanted to see children. So we added the children around the letters here to incorporate, the Smart Start colors and then also the
Recruitment. In order for us to advance and grow, we made a QR code that we went to soccer games, wherever, any parents were with kids, and we were giving them QR codes so that they could go on, see what it is that we do, apply to become a member, and start from there. We do give them parent leaders, do receive a stipend as an incentive. The parents also bring, like she just said, parents bring their kids with them where they're supervised, they have activities. We can, even if we get a whole lot more children, we have the ability to go to the ELF and continue to have them supervised and doing things so that they're still being active, but we can continue on with our meeting.
Jennifer, I want to point out too, so the children at the bottom, those are not children from the internet, those are our children. Their parents are involved with PAC, or they're involved somehow with the partnership, they're participating in ELF, which is the reading time, that's held in our early learning, center. And some of them are our coworkers, their children, but we didn't want to just pull children from the internet, we wanted our own children, that CJ and Indy, we have several, and because our image, our branding, in Columbus County, it speaks of who we are and who we're representing. So when you are creating or you have your logo, go back and, in any material that you're handing out, be real. Put your people on there, and also diversity. That's one thing that we always talk about within our group, is making sure that we have representation at the table. It's so important. I cannot stress that enough. The picture that you see up here is some of our stakeholders, our parent leaders, and also, one of our board members, Ms. Featherson.
commitments, and then proceed into trainings.
And out of those two information settings, we actually have two formal members. Out of information settings, so it was very, very productive. The kids are awesome, and they bring so much more to the table from their different areas of community and where they're at. So it's actually really helpful.
Okay, so here's me and my second child, Jonah. Jonah is 5 years old. I am a parent of two. My husband is from Cairo, Egypt. I'm Native American from Columbus and Bladen County, with the Wampum Siouan tribe. Noah is 8 now. When I started with FELC and then now PAC, I want to say Noah was probably maybe 1 or 2.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Jonah is 5. And I take my kids with me everywhere I go. So here's a card that Jonah said, Mom, you can't leave without having a piece of me with you. And then I wear a bracelet here for Noah when he has a game or he has practice. So my kids are always with me. Just a little bit about myself, how I got involved with Columbus County Partnership for Children. My husband and I experienced losing our home to floods after Hurricane Florence in 2018. And I worked in higher ed education. Tomorrow will be 20 years that I've worked in higher ed. And it was a hard time for my family and I because we were displaced for 9 months. And my older sister said, Andrea, you need to call the partnership. You need to call the partnership. And I had been to the partnership before with my niece, Sarah, at the time, just for ILF and some story time. But I really didn't know, what does the partnership do? What are the resources? And my sister said, just call Andrea, they'll help you. And so I was at a point where I was going to work every day with a smile on my face, and I was serving students and parents and the public. And at the same time, I was dealing with a lot of stress at home for being displaced from the hurricane. And I was trying to think about food and shelter and clothing. So I reached out, but the main thing was how to deal with stress. How do you cope with stress? And then how do you also raise or move children through trauma, through stress? How do you do that? So I called the partnership, and they were able to assist me and my family with food and resources. And I discovered resilience. And resilience training helped me cope with stress. And so now my why is helping other parents and children get through stressful times, or to just embrace and deal with trauma. This is Maytay. I met Maytay out in the community, and she, through the East Coast Migrant Head Start, was told about PAC. And so I wanted to read just a little bit about her story, or her why. Maytay, I'm a proud DACA recipient, an advocate for education, and a strong believer in the power of the community. My why comes from my own journey. I know what it feels like to be unsure, to feel out of place, to not always see yourself reflected in your school or community. That's why I work to be that bridge for others. I want to create spaces where families feel welcome, respected, supported, because when families are engaged, students succeed. That's powerful, ladies.
So again, my name's Jennifer Stringfield. I'm a mother and a grandmother. My journey with the partnership began with the FELC. During that time, my family had gone through some of those difficult situations that we ever thought we would go through. My daughter had been kidnapped, and by the time we got her back, she was addicted to drugs. I had my grandchildren. I had to fight to get her help, and I had to fight to be able to keep my grandchildren safe and with me. In the meantime, Hurricane Florence destroyed my house. The kids and I were living out of one room for a little over a year. Thank God someone had connected me with Samaritan's Purse, and they actually tore down that house and replaced my house so that they could all have somewhere to sleep. After that, I thought to find help for my daughter with her mental health and her She's absolutely amazing, and the partnership with Ms. Lena, and they've been so supportive of her as well. So my first experience first, and I finally got the LC. I started learning how to articulate my voice, how to get the access to the help that we need, because my family's not the only one going through this. With the help from the partnership, my family is resilient, and we are stronger, and we are all healing and doing so much better. Thank God. Amanda is a childhood educator and instructor. When she was enrolled in college, she did an internship at Smart Start, which included joining the FELC. She was learning more and assisting with dual language learners as well, whose primary language was Spanish. One of the most important aspects of our work is elevating families through impact. Families and our children's first and most important teachers. And Smart Start recognizes that when families are engaged, children thrive and succeed. Justice at Impact, we create a space for families to advocate for their needs, contribute to planning, decision-making, and creating goals that foster their children's early learning experiences and family well-being. So this shared leadership model helps build trust, empowers parents, and strengthens the connection between families and their community.
Okay, so Joseph is one of our parent leaders, and Joseph, actually, let me see how I met Joseph. I met her here at PAC, but before that, the East Coast Migrant Head Start had an open house, and they invited the community to come in. And I'll never forget when I was going to the open house and I walked in, I was looking at the pictures on the wall, and I saw Joseph's picture. And I went back to Dr. Bell, I was like, Joseph, she's the parent president there at East Coast Migrant Head Start. She should be involved in PAC. And lo and behold, someone, I want to say Mayday, invited her to one of our sessions, information sessions. So now Joseph is a parent leader. And she says, in her own words, at first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue attending the meetings. However, after participating in a few sessions, I realized how meaningful and engaging they were. I was especially touched by the way everyone in the group genuinely cares about one another, such as during the case of Clarabelle. She's also a parent leader within our group, where she was collectively received support, and it truly stood out. So Joseph thrives within our PAC, and these are her children here. And we just love the children. Like I said, when they come to our meetings, they're at their table. They're having their own little meeting as well as we're working. This is Ms. Natalie Freeman. I know Ms. Natalie Freeman from the community as well, but I've also had the pleasure to work with her
classroom, the support, resources are available right here in our county.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about our trainings that we've had. So one of the staff members with the partnership and myself back in September of 2020, it was back in September of 2023, we went to Raleigh, and so we did the Starting Strong, tools for effective family engagement and leadership. Also Advocacy 101 and family leaders feeling and flexing their own power. And so that was 12 hours of training, and also with momsrising.org. And we were able to come back to Columbus County and be trainers and train others. And so that training has definitely given us the confidence. And Ms. Daphne was there with us those 2 days in Raleigh as well. But the confidence that I now have in the power that you can share with helping others, advocate and teaching your parents and your stakeholders, and then also within the communities with your partnering with your agencies.
We also did training on the ACEs, and the 5 protective factors. And that, I think, introduced me to how to move things forward and how to be there for my family and what things we need to be watching out for, and also how to see it in others, to know if other families, to recognize that situation so we could try to intervene and get them help as soon as possible.
I would say also, what you do matters, and I'll tell you as a parent, that is very, the training, it is informative, it makes you more aware, of how your child's brain is developing from a early age. And so the training opened, my eyes and my husband's, to what we're doing in the early parts of their development and their learning and their growing is very critical and very important. And I would say, just as a parent with the resilience film screening, when I watched the resilience film, I was very touched, and I wanted to do more. So I went straight to my community, and I talked with our chief, Mr. Michael Jacobs, and I said, we have to get this to Bladen and Columbus County. I want to be able to bring it to your church, Mount Sinai Holiness, and I want to be able to show it to my people. I want them to see this film. They have to see this film. And so it was very important, and with the partnership, Dr. Rao and her team, we made that happen. And so we continue to make sure that others are seeing the resilience film, that they're seeing the ACEs training, the adverse childhood experiences.
Okay, so the community garden, we have taken on a project to really help our families be able to, first of all, grow their own food. A big part of it is, so we partnered with Columbus Regional Medical Center, with Ms. Featherson and her husband, and the Cooperative Extension with Mr. Michael, to use the space that had been started as community garden, but to take it on ourselves, so that we could have a place where people could go and just sit. If you're in the hospital and you just need out for a few minutes, you'll have somewhere where you can go sit down. We also want it to be educational. We want families to learn how to plant and how to harvest their own food, as well as bring the community together to do this.
I'll add to it, Jennifer, too. Dr. Kahai was previously a pediatrician there in Columbus County, and her focus was about the garden, is making sure that we were not using chemicals. It was all organic, because children are coming to the garden, they're feeling, they're touching, they may pick up something, put it in their mouth. So she wanted to make sure our insects, is how we're getting rid of our ant beds, that everything was organic, and that it was a safe place for our children to be able to interact. And as we're working more with the hospital and other partnerships in Columbus County, we are growing our community garden, and
what makes you feel safe in this place? My son Jonah, for example, he said, I want yellow because yellow makes me happy, so I'd like to see a lot of sunflowers. So that's things that we want to implement, because we want this space, as people are passing through Columbus County just visiting, we want them to gravitate to this space, to this area, this community garden. And we want to be able to hold events there with the community. But most of all, we see that this community garden is getting more attention, and it's allowing the partnership impact to grow as well. And it's beneficial, it's good therapy to get out and get some fresh air, disconnect from these electronics, and work together and have a project. So we are doing a lot out of the community garden.
So when we started the community garden a year ago, some of the plant beds were in disarray. I know some of the pictures of compost bins, they had problems. Our irrigation system, so we made a plan, and Dr. Ryle and I went to someone at the hospital. She went to the top of the hospital, and he basically said, tell us what you need. So we rebuilt the plant beds, rebuilt the compost area, they put in a storage shed, they even gave us, whatever those mats are that go over the top of the garden. They put a gazebo over one of the sitting areas. So they've been doing, oh, and they put a timer on the irrigation, which is great, because you can put it on and leave, you don't have to wait for an ramp. So, now they just wanna know what it is we're looking for, what our vision is, and they're going to help us achieve it. So we are coming and trying to figure out more ways to grow it so that the community can all come together.
Okay, so what have we been doing in the community? We've been participating in numerous events with the partnership. We just had recently, it was with the families, and Jennifer, we had Riddle representing there.
Yep, some of the things.
Yes, and so that was a huge success in April, in the month of April. And we were able to recruit more parents and stakeholders there at the family event, Family Fun Day. But we've also been out in the community, attending Smart Start Conference in 2023 and 2024, the Tri-County, Regional Resilience Retreat. What else, Jennifer, we've done? This is just a few, involvements that we've been out in the community. Not all of them. We have no room to list everything that we've been involved in.
Well, at Christmas, we did the Magic on Main, and I don't know what the one's called. But thanks to Miss Cindy, who was wonderful, she's made sure that I've had materials from Rural, so that way we can try to get families any help